Chapter number 8, topic 3, objectives of strategic management. So it's a colloquial topic like why we need to discuss on strategic management, what is the reason behind the objectives. The importance of strategic management is each and every manager has to be involved with the strategy. So what is their role, what type of actions they are going to undergo, so everything. So managers' role are such a way important. Managers decide and they implement the strategy only is going to be a successful. Else you cannot say just okay. Something we decided, something we plan, no, it's not going to happen in that way. You have to plan properly, you have to define what you're going to do, you have to properly implement. So strategies do not happen just by themselves. So you may expect this as a coach question. So you may expect this as a coach. Okay. Compared with other management, so what other management? We can directly deal with operational management. So operational management is talking about the operation control. See, with respect to production, goods, services, maybe that may be with respect to sales force, sales department, or monitoring with respect to financial performance, so finance department. And there may be some new system you might be introducing for giving exclusive service to the customer. These are all related to operational management. But when we go for strategic management, it's not just defining one particular area. You're going to define the organization success in the future. Okay, so it's involving a greater scope. So overall, if you look after the nature of SM, it is somewhat complex. In fact, in some material, you can find it is very complex. Okay, so it's generally complex. It's not so simple as ambiguous. Okay, it's not. It will not give you clear clarity. Like so, probably you might be defining strategy today, and the other day the defined strategy, yesterday's defined strategy may not be applying for today's current situation because the environment is dynamic. This is happening. Non-routine situations may be there that has to be accepted. And organization wide it has to be considered not with respect to specific implication or specific operation. What's the major challenge behind? Okay, what's the major challenge behind? Which means for whom it is applicable, especially who is going to actually implement it, not the lower level employee. The managers are actually the persons who are going to implement it. So the managers who manages on the day-to-day basis, how it is dealt makes, yes, you take as operational task. Please highlight this one. It is not an operational management, but you undertake this as an operational task. You take the operational responsibility. Here, the word operational is used in the sense like implementation of strategy. So you need not understand in a way that it's just operational. They are understanding, they are making you to understand this as a implementation, which is an operational work, day-to-day activity work. Okay. Objectives. Okay. Before going for objectives, let me have a small discussion, colloquial discussion. Whenever a company is defining the strategy, it's very important we need to analyze the environment. Usually, when we talk about analyzing an environment, we'll talk about these two analyses. You might have heard of SWOT analysis, Western analysis. Okay. Each and every company, even though it's just a formed company, incorporated company, or it's a very old company, these two will be followed. When we talk about SWOT analysis, strength and weakness talks about the internal strength and weakness of the company. Opportunities and threats talks about the outside opportunities and threats. This is not only available to me, it's available for all the industry players. When we talk about Mahindra and Mahindra, e-vehicle is booming now. Okay. So there's a stiff competition in e-vehicles where not only Mahindra and Mahindra, all other brands, all other automobile industry players also have to be worried about this new thing. What about this Vestal is completely external one. So as I was discussing earlier, Vestal P is meant for political, E for economical, so S social, T for technological, L for legal, and E environmental. We have that in our syllabus. You need not make a note of it. We'll just make a note as Vestal alone. So when I go defining for the strategy, it's very important. You need to know what are the strengths, what are the opportunities. So you go as this combination, SO combination. What are the opportunity available outside? Okay, for the industry, and is this matching with my strength? Which means I'm going to grab that opportunity. Probably, if you go for the other combo, weakness and threat. There's a threat in the industry. How I'm going to tackle that? Is it possible for me to manage that threat? Or there's a threat, but still you have some other strength. Obviously, can turn this as a probably it may be a bit risky, can turn this as an opportunity. So how are you going to treat this one? This is the objective behind strategic management. It's actually listed as many number of points. You need not worry. This is the basic objective behind. So you identify the opportunities. You remember the definition of strategic management. Again, I would recall the definition of strategic management. Not strategic management, strategy. Planning is then analyzing the environment, which is normally not static, it's dynamic in nature. I'll go for uh, designing the strategy so that I get competitive advantage, and not only for gaining competitive advantage to sustain my business, to retain my business. And I will go with the resources, what is available to me, resource mobilization. And last one, I align with the vision, goals, and objectives of it. With all these points and a small knowledge about SWOT analysis come for this first point. To identify opportunities and adapt resources to exploit the opportunities later. Because I may be having the resources, that may be my strength. To create opportunities by stretching the resources, yes, please highlight. It's not only the resources which I have and I'm going to use, it's also the resources which I can stretch. I can relay and I can stretch. See, all the companies may not be capable of this now. Probably I may be planning for adding 1,000 employees in my business. I may be hiring 1,000 employees. Is it all company planning for hiring? No. May not be possible. For me, it's possible. That's why you stretch the resources. Stretching is not going beyond my hand, it's under my control. Okay. And competences, what do you mean by competences? You gain the competitive advantage, right? So with the help of that capability competences, with the help of the opportunities you create by stretching the resources, you combine these two and you try to capitalize them. In terms of profitability, you in terms of leadership, etc. Obviously, if you go for defining the objective, managers will understanding what is the relationship between the actions, what you do, contest and performance and all. Yes, the organization will definitely enjoy the competitive advantage. It will sustain and improve the competitive position also. So it's not only about gaining competitive advantage, but also with respect to sustainability. It can monitor and remain responsiveness, how the key stakeholders are reacting to that. It will identify the something called as critical success factors. Critical success factors. See, all the factors may not be considered as critical success factors, only a few. We may be talking. Sorry, I just shared a YouTube video today in the Telegram group. We just went to Mahendra's rice. All the figures are not for, want for balance sheet. We just go through that one. That's a beautiful one. See, when we talk about organizations of competitive capability or see, everything is going to turn in terms of profitability, but monetary figures does not matter. And moreover, in current state, whatever you do, you have to do for the economy. You have to do for the people. You have to do for the public. That's why we have this small concept called as corporate social responsibility. Okay. So critical success factors are those factors. There will be so many factors, but some factors will be so critical that is giving us success, and that will be meeting the needs and wants of the customers also. Because obviously we are producing some goods or products. It's for the need of the customers only. So they need it, and we are producing. And please highlight this point is avoiding failure. See, so far we were actually discussing in a positive angle. This is the first time we want to avoid failure. So, how can I gain a competitive advantage? Maybe I want to show superiority in efficiency. I want to bring quality wise. I may be thinking about innovation. I may be thinking how the customers will be responsive to this and how the customers will be reacting. Also, accordingly, I may change the quality or the needs. Yeah, we go for continuous improvement also. You call this Kaizen costing. Kaizen is a Japanese word where when we say Kaizen or when we say about continuous improvement, Japanese comes over there. Okay, Japan comes over there. Practices, industrial practices and use the benchmark. What is the benchmark is? There's something called as organization benchmark is there and industry benchmark is there. When we go for industry benchmark, there will be a standard system. That standard has to be met by all the industry players, all the players in the industry. Whereas if we go for organizational benchmarks, I will set up a standard and that has to be met by me alone. Okay. For example, if we go for ISO standards, that is meant for all the industries. I may be having because I want to maintain this quality related things, and I am maintaining a certain benchmark. Means I'm keeping my own standards. So what will be my focus? Let me satisfy all the standards. If all the 10 standards, if I'm just listing top 10 standards, if all the 10 standards are satisfied, then I just add one more, two more, three more, five more. So that I will improve my own self without comparison. So either I can go for industry or industry average or my own self. And to overcome inertia, so there may be some risky openings where you have to take care. You have to break the inertia. You have to accept the changes in the environment. Then only can remain competitive. Else, you have to falter, pitfalls. And at times, only for survival purpose, we have to overcome the inertia. No other way. You develop a creative and innovative method, and you think strategically also. This is about 8.3. So 8.4, organizational genomics, which means talking about genes. So probably you might be wondering why I look like a mom, why I'm getting so angry like my dad. Okay. Sometimes your taste preference will be like your grandma's. That's all about genes. The same like when we talk about an organization, it's not made, see, even though it's an artificial person, it's not made of one person. We have the three levels of management, and each and every person's behavior is going to shape the organization. So with this fact, let me go for the content. Genomics, it's a normal definition, the study of all person genes, that's genome, including the interaction of the gene, how these two interact with each other, with the person's environment also. It's a massive challenge to the organization because we have so many different stakeholders here, and each and everybody respond differently for different planning and different strategy, and how the organization is going to make a profit or make a success from that. What's the role of modern corporation is how it's going to face the challenge. That's a very important one. So what it will do is it will establish this department called as boundary spanning department, which means say my department work independently, your department work, no, it's not that. Somehow or the other they want to interact and they want to mingle with this department. So the ideas of this finance department may be implemented with the ideas of costing department. Costing department will be giving some ideas which will be helpful. Or all these departments. So there may be so many departments, right? All these departments will be somehow interacting with the IT department. Not income, information technology. So related to software or anything like that. So you not only that we have to interact with different stakeholder group also so that we come out or we'll get the hope to face the challenges. Okay. So what do you mean by this boundary spanning department is you interact across the boundaries that divide the company between different stakeholders. If you go for finance side, if you go for account side, there may be a different stakeholder. If you go for costing side, there may be different stakeholders. So case to case, that is department to department is differing. Now we want to bring everything together. So that's why we cross the boundaries. So boundaries spanning the department. Okay. So example, if you go this way, we can talk about Department of Public Affairs, we can talk about investor relation, we can talk about customer relation, we can talk about community relation and so on. And each and every case, there is a lot and lot of the manager's role is there. They have to play in a different way. So how their people behave, so everything is being taken care by the managers. So when you go for organizational behavior, so as we were discussing, it's not about one person, it's all the persons working together and they have to be properly motivated. So probably just think this way about. An organization is planning to provide complete customer support, okay? Just 24 bar 7. And when you say 24 bar 7, it means that at any time you can call. I work day long from the morning to the end. Only by 10 p.m. at night, I become free. And I have an issue with the item what I brought. Immediately, what I do is I mail it. Or sometimes I get so frustrated with the replies they get, I want to make a direct call, customer care call. Okay. And that person says, ma'am, it's 10 p.m. in the night, ma'am. What are you doing now? If he starts advising me, then what will I do is hereafter I will not buy that product or I will not refer for buying others to the product. So obviously, because of one person's language or the way he treated gets totally the track was totally wrong. So that's a good organizational behavior. So all the persons has to get motivated. See, those persons or those customer care people, they are not working for 24 bar 7. They have the shift system. 24 bar 7 is meant for the customer support, and sometimes when I checked, if at 10 p.m. if I sent a mail, the mail will be immediately giving a reply saying that our customers will call between 9 to 7. Kindly give your convenient time. If this is okay, then okay, I can accept it. If there are no persons and another one problem is the language. Tamil, I feel comfortable. English, I feel comfortable. Hindi, somewhat okay. So if they speak in some other language, I don't know what's my problem at all because language becomes a problem. So this is again a problem. So this is all how the people are motivated, how they work together so that we become effective in our operational efficiency. Okay. Now it becomes the primary responsibility for the managers because managers are somebody where The whole team is taken care by them. When you say a manager, there will be thousands of employees working under this manager's control. So he has to lead the system, he has to lead the thing. So what happens is his responsibility is somewhat primary here. He has to develop and maintain an effective communication system, probably. We send a mail and that teaches everybody. Effective communication system. Definitely, it's the role of the manager. He has to discover what are the barriers are existing in the communication system, how he is going to analyze what is the occurrence, how he is going to take the preventive steps. Everybody has to be taken care, everything has to be taken care of. So, how this organizational communication is introduced? See, so far we started saying organization genomics. Then we tried to introduce our organization behavior. Now, this is organization communication. See, for each and every word, you will add another word, organization. Okay. So, organization communication, it's nothing but an interaction. Everybody will be interacting. Please understand they are working for a common goal only. See, your goal may be different, my goal may be different. Your personal life will be different, my personal life will be. Ultimately, when we join together for the organization, it's one person's goal. Even though there are thousands and ten thousands of employees, this one personal goal, that one personal goal becomes the corporate goal. That's the organizational communication. There should exist a strong relationship between the levels of communication and job performance and satisfaction. So, what do you mean by communication is what are the different forms and different channels you utilize here among members of the organization. Okay. So, probably they will have their own portal like that through that portal. So, probably if you know any person working in IT or if your parent or any relative, any of your relative working in IT company, ask them, they'll have a separate portal. They have the separate portal where only they discuss. Others, public will not be involved. That's only for members. That is employees portal. Scope, yes, organizations, MPO, even though small business. If we say that's a small business, but that's needed over there. It can be a formal communication, it can be an informal communication, and it can flow from any direction. From the superior to inferior to superior authority. From the manager to a normal employee, or from an employee to a manager. It can be, and it can be using various media also. Okay. And whenever we talk about this, we have to talk about the mutuality. So, how the relationship is built, how the work group is created. So, usually we split as two systems. One is outer system and one is the inner system. Outer system is how the organization is defined by the technologies, and inner system is the mutual relationship created by the business corporation and how they are putting their efforts to live together. So, your personal life and my personal life, now we are working for this corporate, it becomes corporate goal, okay, organization's goal. So, we have to work in this order. And interaction is reflected in all the mutual activities. So when you talk about the employee activity, so you can say this way. Organizational goal is nothing but all the employees, summation of all the employees' goal. But the problem here is each and every employee may be having different goals. It's not your pooling as organization goal. Please understand, organization goal is one, and you're spreading over to different employees. See, one employee may be thinking that I have to get promotion. I will work only for these hours, then I have to go spend with my family. He may be planning in a different way. I don't know what may be planning. Okay, I have to show something effective in my lifestyle. So, see, person to person will be differing, but what your organization is planning. Organization cannot define a policy for person to person. Organization will define one policy. It's the other way, how we are pooling the employees is the other way. Because each and every person's behavior cannot have different policies over. Okay. How the interactions are done, probably how they work in the environment, cognitive environment, emotional, cognitive processes. So, what are the different processes? A general common word you can take it. How the interaction is being happening, how the communication happens, what perception they are thinking about. Certain feelings develop within one's personality, but probably we need to hide it. Okay, probably we cannot use it as verbal expression, which means what? You cannot use your own words. Even though you like it or not, you are working over there and you have to work accordingly. So, verbal or symbolic expressions, everything has to be considered. These are not normal. Question of estimation is normal. Okay, I'm not going line by line. Estimating factors, yes, we have to go with respect to the nature, what personality, what's the mental health. Okay. Incorrect or underestimating factors will be there because of lower qualification that may not be helpful. That's why when you go for any interview, they'll first check whether you are qualified for this job with respect to the qualification alone. Not tolerance level will be there because when you go for checking the social, education, and finance background, sometimes you may be in an environment that you cannot accept it. So the it becomes ethical. Ethical in the sense that person to person it differs. I will be saying probably you might have worked in a different organization. Now you're in this organization, you have to work along with us. Yes, obviously that's a fact, but I cannot say right. Okay. You may be having high opinion of themselves based on some facts. Sometimes you may be having inferiority complex. Okay, you may be doing a great job, but they are not giving the true opinion. They conceal, they hide it. So obviously, how you feel is okay. We are not being stayed out of it. These are the problems faced by a normal employee, or most of the employees face these type of problems any one line among them. But now, what's the manager going to do? Now we are going to shift something called a strategic leadership. It's not the manager who is going to talk about the strategy. It's the leader who is going to define the strategy, who is going to execute the strategy. So it's not about the general manager. It's about the strategic leader who has a strategic leadership quality, which means he can effectively manage the strategy making process from the making process. So who do you call a strategic leader? He's an individual upon whom strategic development and change are seen to be dependent. He may be some possessing some key characteristics probably because of that. So when there is a change of CEO of a company, that is effective. When we say that Anand Mahendra is there, there is an uncle nephew relationship, Anand Mahendra and Kesar Mahendra. So when we talk about Anand Mahendra, is such an executive person. He is involved in so many activities. He's so very active and so on. So he becomes a strategic leader. He's a CEO, he's a chartered of the organization, he becomes a strategic leader. So the strategic leader's role is very important. Even though we say managers play an important role, when this is for making the strategic move effectively, they become the strategic leaders. Okay. So ultimately they plan for maximizing the shareholders' value. Let's see that. Now when we talk about growth, obviously it has to result in profitability only. So profit growth and profitability of the organization. Who are these statistical strategic leaders and what qualities they have to have? Okay, key qualities. Visionary. They need to know what's the sense of direction, how we are going to move this one. They need to have a clear and compelling vision. How we are going to communicate this vision? See, that's very important, right? See, I'm thinking on my own, but how we are going to bring this up? Okay, communication is proper, then it's fine. Only thing is, it has to be properly communicated. Communication is proper, then it's fine. Only thing is, it has to be properly communicated, which means communicate his vision. He is the person who can look what the company will be after 5 or 10 years. Okay. And able to identify, yes, what would be the business model. Probably numbers okay, but after some 5 years or 10 years, when you attain the vision, your business model is not going to be the same one. Okay, you may be in top 10 companies, you may be in top 5 companies. Okay, and how you're going to fit this organization strategies with the vision? You should be committed. Okay, you should be in your actions. You say one thing and do one thing. No, you have to show it in actions. Okay, develop a strong network for formal and informal sources, whatever happening in and around the organization. So how you're going to gather the information. So in front of you, there may be good words spoken about you, but later back behind they will be talking some bad things. That should not be happen. So they'll have formal and informal sources also. Delegation of responsibilities. Yes, this is a beautiful point. When we say leader, it's not the leader who's doing all the works. It's the leader who give the different works to different people and just supervise that what he's doing. So he has to delegate his responsibility. What do you mean by delegation is the authority is yours. Okay, authority is yours, but not responsibility. I give you some authority where you can sign the documents. But if anything wrong happens with that signing of documents, who's becoming liable? I have to become. That's what it was delegation of responsibility. What is the authority? Signing authority may be part of, but anything happens wrong, I have to take the responsibility. So the subordinates will be given the power, they can take decisions, but if anything goes wrong on the decisions, who is responsible for the decision? Who is answerable in that position? Obviously, that strategic leader is answerable. So he will be acting as a motivator for the subordinates. He relieves the leadership from being overloaded because he cannot take all the work. If he takes all the work, it becomes a day-to-day activities. Like he cannot take all the works. He has to relieve himself from some overloading activities. Okay. Non-delegation, yes, please highlight. When we say delegation is not everything he's going to delegate, we have defined this critical success factors, right? So those critical importance things you cannot delegate. You should not delegate also. Being a leader, you should not delegate. Okay. See, you want to say that some employees are taking off and how you're going to manage the job hours. If we say that on 10, there is a team of 50 persons, 10 employees are asking for a leave, especially this will happen for festival periods. Okay. If there is a 4 day holiday, the next day or the very first day, they'll be taking leave. So, how you are going to manage with that monthly target or whatever it is? Now, that becomes a problem. Now, immediately go to the strategic leader, say that this month's target cannot be achieved because this all these are going for festival holidays. You cannot go and ask them. See, that's not critical. This is expected. And most of the cases, this Diwali falls on Tuesday or Wednesday, complete whole week they'll take it as leave. Okay, this happens. And this happens in school holidays also. People like, lengthy holidays, some 7 or 8 days they take leave. And this puja holidays, they take leave. What happens is, this is not only happening for Diwali, Hindus take leave, Christians, no, it's not happening for them. If there is a leave, everybody takes leave. And most of the Diwali happens in end of the month or beginning of the month. End of October, like 28, or now the first week. So that month ends target will not be achieved. So what are you going to do? You plan accordingly. Who is going to decide on this? Not the strategic leader, your manager. So he has to decide. You finish this work, then we take leave. So he can collaborate like that, but he cannot each and every time ask the. This is not a critical one. Obviously, maintaining the target is critical one, but this is already where you can plan it. Okay, so this happens. Yes, develop consensus. Consensus means your subordinates may be having their own ideas. You please try to work along with that. Okay, probably you might be thinking you're the leader and they have to listen to you. It's not that way. The subordinates, they will also have some mindset. Sometimes that also will be effective because you are overloaded with your job. Sometimes that may be effective. You just collaborate with them. You'll get new ideas because they are different persons. They will be looking after the company. They will be looking after the situation in different way. There may be a problem arising. I'm a strategic leader. I work each and every day, night and day. I work for a problem. I may not be getting different ideas to execute that or to resolve the problem. But there may be some small auto wala or any driver of my own vehicle or any person may be there. They will be just giving a simple ideas where I can easily come out of that problem. So you just develop consensus. Consensus means you just talk with them. Okay, talk is not directly talking. Just read their minds. Okay, so that's how it goes. It's a beautiful one. Can you please go to Julian? Emotional intelligence. So we have this IQ. So emotional intelligence. So this is a term coined by this Daniel Goleman in the year 1998. So he's estimating how far a person is capable of emotionally, psychologically. Okay. So when we talk about the psychological capabilities, we have to be, we have to check, especially we are working with leaders, we have to check how far they are self-aware. Okay, self-aware in the sense that your mood may be different, but how you're going to understand the moods and how you're going to effectively apply it. So moods, emotions, and the drives of the actions for them. You have to be self-regulated. Okay, think before acting. You have to be properly motivated. Okay, that goes beyond money and status because it is your responsibility. You have to sometimes show empathy also. You have to feel, you have to understand the feelings and viewpoints of the subordinates. You may be just giving them some instructions, but they are the persons who are actually executing it, the subordinates, your assistant capacity holders. And social skill, yes. When we say formal and informal, we say that informal is going with friendly. தட்டி கொடுத்து வேலை வாங்கணும். That's not the same. So more about self-aware and self-regulating individuals. As per this person Goldman, you should be more confident, able to cope with ambiguity, and you should be more open to changes. You have to get respect. Yes, obviously. தட்டி கொடுத்து வேலை வாங்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு we cannot just leave it away. We have to get the respect. It's not just completely going too friendly. Okay. People who are self-aware will recognize their own limitation. Okay, this is my problem. Let me come away from that. Okay. If I show others will be listening to me as of now, but is that going to give some efforts? Okay, positively it's going to turn up, so that's a problem. People who are self-regulated consider their decisions carefully, whether they have to do it or not. Probably have to gain trust and confidence, but that's the main thing. Okay, so my strategic leader is too tensed up now, so it is so very important, so very serious. We have to take it important. So this has to go in the minds of the subordinates. Because if it has to go to the minds of the subordinates, then your prior work is so important. Okay. So strong motivation should be there. So you have to show your passion for the work. If you are strongly motivated, obviously it motivates the subordinates also. Hope it is okay. Continuing, now we'll go for the main content called as organizational change. Can you please list out what we were so far discussing with respect to organizational genomics first? Okay, organizational genomics, am I right? Then we were talking about organizational behavior. Then we were talking about organizational communication and change. I think this is the four content. So we started the genomics because of this, like it goes in hierarchy. Genomics is what we call as behavior. This behavior can be superbly organized by properly communicating, and all these will bring a change to the organization. That's what we call as organization change. So one is committed, and how far that is going to be in the case of growth and evolution. It's not the same company, right? You're going to change it. Probably in the future, it's obviously going to change. So this change is reason the environment is dynamic. So you cannot avoid this change. Probably what type of change you can expect in an organization. This is just a small list. You can add any part. You may be introducing new software, or you may be updating the marketing practices. You may be completely updating the business process also. You may be trying to restructure your organization. The leadership may be changing. There may be an updated thinking. You may be using new project management tools. Budget constraints may be there. And sometimes what no. There will be strategy. So managing this one is what you call as the organization change management. So how it is being defined here is definition. It's a methodology that helps businesses adapt to adjust of all the kinds. Whatever the changes are adopted, it has to be adopted. Whatever changes are being occurring, it has to be adopted. So that's what about organization management changes. What's the benefit behind here is yes, it helps the employees, stakeholder, everybody, each and every stakeholder is taking the help of this. Methods, there are so many methods and some popular method only we are using here. And please remember, you may, so if you go for some, I think six or seven methods will be there. If you go for one by one, it's not just starting like unfreeze, for example, if I go for Cont levels. Unfreeze, because what do you mean by unfreeze means you're going to start from the beginning, like. So you're following some particular procedure and you stick to that procedure now, that is freezed. Now you have to come away from that. So it's unfreeze. Then you just bring the appropriate changes inside. Then you have to refreeze because if that change is happening correctly, then you have to fix to that change. Again, what you have refreezed may not be refreezed for a longer period. Again, you have to unfreeze. So that's why it was the cycling. It's not linear. Sometimes it may be linear. If it is a big change, it can be linear, but most of the cases it will be cyclical. This is Kurt Levin's model. He defines this change in three ways: unfreeze, change, and refreeze. What William Bridges says is he defines this as transition model. See, Kurt Lewin defines as change model, he defines as transition model. There will be an ending. For anything, there will be an ending. From that ending, you bring a neutral zone, which means you think what has to be brought in the next era, which means they'll go for a new beginning. Okay. Next, there is a quotas 8-step process. You create, you build, you form, you enlist, you enable, then you go for generating, then sustain in that and institute, which means what? Make it as a practice. Let me repeat. You create one. Probably you may be creating a new idea. You build your organization along with that. You form like a team and you just know the team what you're going to work out. Let the team enable all these activities. Let them generate the value, the growth. Let you sustain in that position and you make it as an institutional organization behavior. McKinsey is one famous uh, highlighted framework. Probably you may expect this in your exam. McKinsey and companies called a 7S framework because he is using the 7-step change. Okay. And all the 7 steps starts with S. See, style. First one, S. Skills, systems, structures, staff, strategies, shared values and rules. There is a particular style. You may be having some skills that can be brought in the system. That may be defining your structure now. And who are the staffs involved in that structure? So probably the structure may be this way, a 3-tier structure, or the structure may be 2-tier structure, or the structure may be like a chart by chart structure. Probably we have this in our future topics. We discuss it later. Depending accordingly, we define the strategies and we go with shared values and goals. That's the organization goals and behavior. Okay. And we have this ADKR model. Okay. This ADKR starts from A, D, K, A, and R. Okay. A stands for awareness. D stands for desire, K stands for knowledge, A stands for ability, and R stands for reinforce. Okay. Then Q for rose model. He says there will be a shock, which means there is a change expected immediately. Which means what? You cannot follow the same old model. You have to make some changes. That shock will create you anger. This may be going like one personal life, like, and you may be bargaining, which means what? You have to go for the next level. And definitely that's not going to be easily happening. It will create depression. Please accept it. Only if you go for accepting the risk, you go for new methods and methodologies. Else you will be starting or you will be stagnated in the same position. This is again a beautiful model. Satish change model is here. There may be a status quo, which is you have defined your own independency, you might have defined your own policy, etc. That may be expired now, later. So there is a resistance, which means you have to come out of that. There is a chaos, ambiguity creation. You have to integrate what are the all things available. Now you go for new policy. That is new status quo. Now the problem is here we have so many models. All these are popular which I have to utilize. Can utilize any method because there is no such hard and fast rule. You have to utilize this only. But whatever you do, you have to face a smooth transition. What are the stakeholders you need? What are the preferences? Accordingly, you make it interchange. So we have this particular association called as ACMP. This association with the detailing professional change management standard. Actually, they are giving some approaches where you can execute those. So apart from this popular method, they are giving some approaches. They define what practices you can follow, what are the processes you can involve, what are the tasks and activities. So this goes particularly with the management team, MBA students, so where they can free to do it. Okay. So how we can process across the industries and all. So this association is recommending the steps where you can evaluate the changes. See, it's not the whole organization change you're going to make it. You have to evaluate if I make a change that's going to be helpful or that is going to make my action burdenful. So you just evaluate. This is first evaluation goes that is this change needed now? Probably change may be needed. Probably another 1 year you can do with the same concept. After that you can change it. Probably if I go with my personal experience, you might have visited a single blogspot, right? SSA blogspot. You might have found where you can contact us. The inquiry page and the registration, everything can be done from the single blogspot. Actually, this we introduced some 6 or 8 months before only. From the last batch only, it's more effectively used. But we had this thought very long back, so 5 years before. So the problem is we can execute it. But how am I going to deliver this knowledge to my staff? First thing. I may be creating all these works. So inquiry form and other registration form, I only define these are the things because if I face any difficulty, I should be aware what's the difficulty. I'm handling the classes here, and suddenly one student comes or my staff comes saying that my student cannot upload the photo, man. What to do? Okay. Yeah. My intention is it has to make it comfortable for everybody, and it should not overload my own work. So these are the changes we are trying to implement. Not now, for the past 5 years, but we did not do it. We have seen Singer Academy is a very small partnership firm. We itself are delaying our change for 5 years. What about the big companies? Probably not so lengthy years. They may be expecting the change immediately, probably after 3 years or after 1 year or maybe after a quarter also. But they have to plan then to implement. Is it so? Very first question has to be asked is this change needed now? Change is needed, okay, but is this needed now? That has to be taken care of. And if the what do you mean by evaluating is what is the impact it's going to create and what's the readiness? How far it's going to be effective? Accordingly, we go for formulating the strategy and we develop the change management plans. We'll go for executing this change management plans and we'll go for closing the change management effect because we cannot go for revision work, and revision work. Somehow we have to stop the change management effect because see, we are bringing the change because we want to develop or we want to do activities in a smart way. Again, we are working for the change and change and change, which is not definitely going to help us. So you have to at one point you have to close it. And it's very important to look how far the employees are involved. So I think this change may be needed. I may be delivering this concept to Bhatia ma'am. She may be telling me, ma'am, this is so very tough, ma'am. Let me follow the whole procedure, ma'am. Already she's getting overloaded. We are in classes. Any student calls to her only, makes a call to her. But obviously, she's in a trouble now. So she feels haphazard. Obviously, this has been loaded in your head. You think that, see, we make a call, Vakya ma'am is not responding at all. Okay, this has happened with the one student. I don't want to name her. She's a very new student. Actually, I'm not complaining. This happened with the one student where she posted that I'm calling you so many times, ma'am, you're not picking up the call. Okay, see, this is not her problem. This is not staff problem. The problem is that, see, even when I call her, she'll not be picking up the phone because always her phone will be busy. So I'm not complaining her. At the same time, if I make any change, how is she going to face the change? Because she need to have the knowledge. So what we did is for the inquiry form and registration form, we made her to attend in different form. We said that you are a CA foundation student. Attend the inquiry form, fill it and send it. You are a CA final student, fill and send it. You are a CA inter student, fill and send it. You are paying the fees online, fill and send it. You are paying the fees offline, fill and send it. You are an online student visiting Singar Academy, paying fees physically here. How are you going to do it? All these things, that is, which means we are giving like different activities to her. She is trying all the modes and how it's been reflected in our Excel sheet, in our Google sheet. So after all this, okay, now it's becoming clear. Okay, she can manage. Now I can bring the change. So employees' involvement is important during this process. If there is no employee involvement, this is definitely not going to help. See, this is just happening for a small place where we are running in one single area, location wise, geographical wise. But we are talking about the strategy for big companies. They are working nationwide and worldwide. How are you going to follow? Okay, people's power. Yes, it's the people. Definitely, they need to be involved from the beginning to the end process. There should be an online focus group, not just simply a survey. Like everything has to be considered. Okay, we have to acknowledge prepare leadership and HR. Okay, so that's about 8.4. Probably 8.5, 8.6, and 8.7. I shall handle in next class. Okay, if I start, definitely it's going to be a long time. So I'll continue in the next class. Then. Thank you, Pa. Thanks for joining.